The Deadly Car, a true horror story from a haunted road. In 1994, a man named Mark Carter had an encounter that changed his life forever. He was driving along a rural road in Alabama in his old 1973 Chevrolet Nova, a car he had inherited from his father.
That night, Mike was heading home from a friend's house and decided to take a shortcut through an isolated road. This road, known as Blackwood Road, had a dark reputation among the locals. Several fatal accidents had occurred there, and many believed the spirits of the deceased drivers still roamed the area. Shadows in darkness. At 11:45 p.m., Mike was driving carefully through the dense fog that covered the road. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he saw a shadow standing by the roadside. He thought it was just his imagination, but as he passed by, he caught a glimpse of a woman in the white dress standing in the middle of the road through his
Rearview mirror. Panicked, he slammed the brakes, but when he turned around to look, she was gone. His heart pounded in his chest. It's just exhaustion, he told himself and continued driving. But then something happened that shook him to his core. A ghostly car on the road. As Mike drove forward, he saw headlights approaching in the distance, but as the vehicle got closer, he realized something was off. It was an old car, looking like it was from the 1950s. As the car passed by, Mike glanced inside, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The driver was a man, but his face was completely burnt and disfigured, as if he had been in a horrific accident. Terrified, Mike turned his head away, but just as the car passed him, his radio suddenly turned on by itself. A deep, distorted voice whispered through the speakers, "You will be one of us soon." Escape from the haunted road. Mike slammed his foot on the gas, desperate to escape, but as he drove faster, he felt something holding his car back, as if an invisible force was weighting it down. Then, in the rearview mirror, he saw something even worse, a man sitting in his backseat. His face was covered in blood, and his lifeless white eyes stared straight at him. Mike screamed and nearly lost control of the car. With all his strength, he jerked the steering wheel and managed to get off the road. His car came to a sudden stop in the grass. Breathing heavily, he slowly turned around to look at the backseat. There was no one there. The dark story of Blackwood Road. After that night, Mike never drove down Blackwood Road again. But when he researched the area, he discovered something terrifying. Decades ago, in the 1950s, a family was driving down this same road when they lost control and crashed. A true scary story, the Shadow Zoo and the unnatural creatures. This true story revolves around a mysterious zoo from the 1970s, located in a small town in Pennsylvania, USA. Known as the Shadow Zoo, locals believe the place was cursed or haunted for reasons that were never fully explained. What began as a family-friendly attraction turned into a nightmare that led to the permanent closure. Introduction. The Shadow Zoo was in Italy a popular attraction, home to exotic animals from around the world. African lions, tropical parrots, and more. But everything changed in 1974 when a series of bizarre and terrifying incidents began to unfold. These events not only left the zoo abandoned but turned it into one of the creepiest places in Pennsylvania. The strange events begin. It all started with the mysterious disappearance of animals. The first case involved a black panther that vanished without a trace. Oddly, its cage was still locked with no signs of forced entry or escape. The very next day, a night guard went missing under similarly strange circumstances. Witnesses claimed they had last seen the guard heading toward the animal enclosures after hearing a loud and unusual growl. By morning, all they found was his flashlight lying on the ground and strange footprints that didn't resemble any known animal species. Visitor testimonies. Visitors to the zoo during this time began reporting eerie and unexplained phenomena. Some claimed they heard howls and growls at night that didn't match any animal on record. Others swear they saw shadowy figures with glowing eyes lurking near the enclosures. One family reported that their 10-year-old son disappeared briefly while visiting the zoo at night. When they found him moments later, his face was pale and he was too terrified to speak. The mystery of cage number 13. One of the most terrifying aspects of the shadowy zoo was cage number 13. Locals believe this cage was never empty, even though no animals were officially housed there. Zoo staff often avoided it, claiming they felt an overwhelming sense of dread when walking past it. Some swear they saw red eyes staring back at them from the darkness of the cage. Rumors began to circulate that this cage was built to contain something unnatural, something the zoo authorities never disclosed to the public. The closure of the zoo. After multiple unexplained disappearances of both animals and people, the Shadow Zoo was permanently shut down in 1975. The facilities were left untouched and the site quickly fell into the decay. Over the years, the abandoned zoo has become a hotspot for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. Many claim that strange noises and shadowy figures can still be seen and heard there at night. Introduction. This family driving down a desolate road in the northwest United States found themselves losing their way unexpectedly. What initially seemed like a familiar route soon transformed into a dark and winding road. Although their GPS showed no issues. The car would inexplicably change directions by itself at times. Mysterious events. After hours of driving through the night, the car suddenly broke down. The engine stalled, and while the parents tried to figure out what was wrong, one of the children heard strange footsteps from the outside the car. When the father opened the car door, there was nothing but absolute darkness. At the moment, the mother noticed that the car windows had fogged up unusually, as if someone was inside the car, but they couldn't see them. When she wiped the fog off, the image of a strange man staring at them appeared in the rearview mirror. The next strange occurrences. The car mysteriously started again and the family continued on their way. However, the roads that once seemed familiar quickly began to change. Suddenly, the road started twisting in impossible directions, and it felt as if they were driving in circles. At this point, strange images of a man with a cold and eerie stare started to appear outside the windows. Uncovering the truth. After they arrived at the police station and reported the incident, they learned that the very same road had been the site of a horrific accident years earlier. Many drivers who had passed through this area had reported strange malfunctions with their cars and strange occurrences. The police mentioned that the numerous drivers had seen these ghosts or entities by the side of the road, but no one had ever been able to explain it.